Indeed, countless blessings belong to Allah. We thank Allah for all of our situations and for every moment that He has given us the ability to make some ibadah to Him, make some worship to Him, to acknowledge that Allah is our Rabb and our Creator, our Sustainer. We thank Allah for giving us life and guiding us to Islam. We're going to continue in talking about the Book of Allah, the Qur'an. And I have mentioned in the past that there are basically 5 things that as Muslims, in order to find if you are engaged with the Book of Allah, there are at least 5 things you must do. Not one thing, not 2 things, but at least 5 things, minimally 5 things you must do to engage with the Book of Allah. And so as I go over this list, I want us to hold roll call in our minds and ask ourselves where we at when it comes to our involvement and our engagement with the Book of Allah. Reminding benefits to believers. So we are saying this to remind the believers, remind myself as well as you. We should be listening to the Qur'an. They make it so convenient today to listen to Qur'an. We walk around with these cell phones and these these devices. So easy to listen to the Qur'an. That's the first way we can engage with the Book of Allah, is at least listen to the Qur'an. Number 2 is the reading of the Qur'an. The actual reading, meaning you pick up the Mus'haf. We're not talking about translations. You pick up the Mus'haf and you read. Do I have to know Arabic to know? You have to learn Arabic. This is part of our deen. The least amount of Arabic one needs to know is that will enable him or her to at least read the Book of Allah. If you can't read the Qur'an, then you are always relying on someone to tell you what Allah is saying. So minimally, we must learn how to read the Qur'an, just so Arabic, so we can at least be able to read the Book of Allah. The understanding Allah will bring. The third thing we must do, after listening, reading, the third thing we must do in order to be engaged with the Book of Allah is we must be setting some standard for memorization. Set some standard for memorization. Even if it's not the entire Qur'an. Selected surah outside of Qul huwallahu ahad, Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, Qul a'udhu, outside of these surah are important, very important. Ikhlas, 1/3 of the Qur'an in meaning. Over 1/3 of the Qur'an speaks about the uniqueness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it also speaks about other things, the Qur'an. History, medicine, social norms, community life. So many things the Qur'an speaks about. And if we're not reading it, if we're not listening to those ayats, reading those ayats and memorizing those ayats, when it comes time to put it into practice, we fall short. Listening, reading, developing some schedule for memorization. 4. And this is an unfortunate part. This 4th thing is what we call, or what's called tadabbur. Where why did Allah say what He said? And this is this is the negative result of translations. Because with translations, you don't get a chance to ask yourself why. Someone has taken that ability away from you and I. As long as we rely on a translation, they have taken that away from you and I. That inquisitive, they have taken it away. They inserted what they wanted to insert. And it's not that it's wrong, except that you don't know why. There's so many words. There's so many words that seem to have similar meanings. Praise, for an example. There are many words in Arabic that means praise. Right? Or appreciation. Most of us are familiar with alham. But that's not the only word in the Qur'an or in the Arabic language that has this meaning. When they translate it, you don't see the difference. So you miss the context if you don't understand why did Allah use shukr, but now pray? Why? Why much one time? Why the different words? Because it implies a different kind of meaning. There's no way a translator can capture that. There's no way. There's a difference between the word Medina and Korea. There's a difference. But when you look in the Quran, most translators translate them as the same. But there's a difference. There's a difference between the word sana and am, year. There's a difference. Translators aren't going to give us the difference between why did Allah sometimes use the word sana and then sometimes he says am. Why? So when we only rely on the translator, you lose that. But when you're reading the Arabic and you're paying this thing called tadabbur, you're paying attention to what's going on, you're looking for it. You're looking for it. Wow. It's right there. The fifth thing after reading, after listening, reading, assigning portions to memorize, and contemplating, this thing called tadabbur, is then to put these ayats into practice. Is to put them into practice. Allah Ta'ala, He says in His Qur'an, and I seek refuge with our enemy, the shaitan. Allah Ta'ala, He says, Inna hadha al-Qur'an yahdi lillati hiya aqwam wa yubashshir al-mu'minina alladhina ya'maluna as-salihati anna lahum ajran kabira wa alladhina la yu'minuna bil akhirati atadna lahum adhaban alima. This Qur'an, Allah says, it guides to that which is most proper. And it gives glad tidings to those people of Iman. We ask Allah, oh Allah, make us people who have Iman. Put us with the people of Iman. And who also do righteous deeds. Oh Allah, allow us to be able to give us the ability to perform righteous deeds. What is for these people, may Allah include us in the group, that they have an enormous reward with Allah for their belief values, for their efforts, their ibadah, their actions. And then Allah says, and as for those who do not believe in the hereafter specifically, but in general, who don't have no iman, Allah says for such people, right, they will have a painful punishment. May Allah save us from that. They say that the Qur'an, it lets you and I know what are the poisons in life. What are the poisons in life? If you do this, it's detrimental. It's harmful if you do this. The Quran lets us know what those things are. What are those pitfalls that we all encounter in life? What are they? How to look out for them. So the Quran, it shows us what is poisonous to us, what is harmful to us. But the Quran Oh Allah, thank you. It also shows us the remedy. It also gives us a remedy. What to do in this situation, So those 5 things must be, this is something we have to just take this on. Just how we take on our 5 pillars of Islam, our 6 pillars of Iman, we have to take on these principles in order to engage ourselves with the Book of Allah. Listening. You're riding in the car. Get your phone, pick your favorite reciter, and just listen. Just listen to the Qur'an. Let the Qur'an go through our ears and melt our hearts. Run through our veins. Oh, I don't understand Arabic. You don't think Allah knows that you're saying something Allah doesn't know? It should inspire us to take it to the next level then. Reading. Daily reading of the Qur'an. Portions to memorize. And as you're listening and reading, you're looking, see why. Why does Allah say something one time and it says it another way another time? Why? What lesson is He trying to teach us? And put these ayahs into practice. Allah Ta'ala, He says, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى قَالَ رَبِّ لِمَ حَشَرْتَنِي أَعْمَى وَقَدْ كُنْتُ بَصِيرًا قَالَ كَذَلِكَ أَتَتْ آيَاتُكَ فَنَنْسِيتَهَا سبحان الله وَكَذَلِكَ يَوْمَ تُنْسَى وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي مَنْ أَسْرَفَ وَلَمْ يُؤْمِنْ بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِ وَالْعَذَابُ الْآخِرَةِ أَشَدُّ وَأَبْقَى. In this ayah, Allah tells us we want to avoid one of these pitfalls. What's the pitfall? What's a poison? Whoever avoids, turn away. Allah says, whoever turns away from my remembrance. وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي. Whoever turns away, who shuns my remembrance, means the remembrance of Allah. Allah says, فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. His life will be constricted, full of problems and chaos. And Allah says, and we will resurrect him. We will bring him back on the day of judgment blind, unable to see. And this blindness is figuratively. Figuratively. The Quran, the language, the Arabic language is a figurative language. Figurative language. Most languages are figurative. Give me a hand. Do I mean that literally? No. It's a figurative statement. And because we don't appreciate language, we lose these skills of how to use language, how to communicate. So the person will say, Rabbi, oh my Rabb, why have you resurrected me blind when I used to be able to see? Now this seeing is literal. But Allah raised him up blind. What? Meaning he can't find his way over the Sirat. There's darkness. And we need light, and we need to be able to see to get over that Sirat. That's over the Jahannam. We need light. We need nur. To get over the Sirat. That bridge. We need it. And so our mission is, how do we gain light? How do we gain insight? So Allah then says to this individual, thus, كذلك, thus, our signs came to you. And you ignored them. You ignored our signs. And thus, and similarly, today on the day of judgment, when you were asking for light, we have forgotten about you as well. What a horrible position to be in. For Allah not to be Ar-Rahman to us. For Allah not to be generous and kind to us. What a horrible position for one to find themselves in on that day. Like you, Allah says, like you forgot our signs, you forgot the warnings, you forgot that you were told not to do this and this and this, and you neglected, you didn't pay, you disregarded, you paid no heed. Allah's forgotten us now. Allah not allow us to be in that condition. What a horrible position to be in. You have to think about, sometimes I tell you, we got to get personal with the Qur'an. That's me. I'm at Allah, why did you raise me up and I can't see? I don't want to be that person. What do I have to do? That's not me. Because it can be any one of us. Any one of us it can be. What do I have to do? So it's not me. And Allah says, thus, this is how we reward those who went to the extreme in disobeying. You know, it don't take much to do the wrong thing. It's easy to do the wrong thing. You want to see strength? You want to see strength and resiliency? 40 years, 50, 60 years deep. Men, there's never a time we don't make salah. That's strength. Never a time men don't make salah. Why? That's why men are called rijal. Always on their legs. Always ready. Soldiers ready. There's never a time we don't make salah. Never. Even if we have to say it, make salah laying down, sitting down. There's never a time we don't make salah. That's what makes us men, because we're always on our legs. Always. We're not women. We don't get a day off, a month. We always on call. Always on call. Want to see strength? You establish that. Establish the salah. On time. Consistency. So Allah says, thus, this is how we reward those who go to the extreme in doing what? And didn't believe in our signs. The signs of their Rabb. And so the punishment, Allah says, the punishment of the hereafter is severe and more lasting. May Allah save us from it. Another ayat that's very close to this ayat. Very close to this ayat. And for years, I read it as if I read the first ayat. The ayat says, وَمَنْ يَعْشُ عَنْ ذِكْرِ الرَّحْمَنِ يُقَيِّدْ لَهُ شَيْطَانًا فَهُوَ لَهُ قَرِينٌ. وَمَنْ يَعْشُ. I used to see this word, I used to think this was the word aish, which is to live. Whoever lives away from the remembrance of Allah. But this word ashu means whoever. Ashu has the meaning of to be blind. Whoever is blinded, meaning they can barely see. Pay attention to what Allah is telling us in these ayats. Whoever is like some people have this thing, for this thing they can't drive at night because they have this night blindness. They can't see at night. Even though there's light they can't see on their own. They don't even drive. This is the word, this is that word in the Qur'an now. Right? So whoever is dim-lidded, right? Their sight, their ability to see is diminished. An dhikr rahman, from the remembrance of Allah, he used his name that involves all of his names. Ar-Rahman. Ar-Rahman. Do we not know who Ar-Rahman is? Allah says, whoever is short-sighted from the remembrance of Ar-Rahman, نُقَيِّدْ شَيْطَانًا لَهُ قَرِينٌ. Allah says, and so we appoint for such a person who can't see now, we appoint for such a person a shaitan to lead him around. Just like asking the wolves to watch the chicken house. Shaitan is happy. I got one now. So the person who can't see, because that person has made it up in his or her mind to disregard the signs of Allah. Allah says this and you do that. Allah says don't do this and we decide to do it. That person, Allah says, we assign for such a person the shaitan to lead that person around in life. And so he becomes, for them, their guide. And Allah says that person is their bosom buddy now, the shaitan, A'udhu Billah. People moving on their own desires, away from Allah, away from Ar-Rahman. We have a hadith of Allah's Prophet. He taught us a dua. Allahumma kfini bi halalik an haramik wa aghnini bi fadlika amma siwaka. Oh Allah, allow me to be make me comfortable with your halal, what you have made halal, regardless of what the haram is. Make me comfortable. Make that sufficient for me, your halal, away from the haram. And allow me, enrich me, cause me to be, the word ghani, aghnini, and enrich me with all of your bounties that I don't have to ask anyone other than you. Brothers and sisters, we ask that Allah Ta'ala make us people of Iman and accept our deeds and actions. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala ashraf al-muslimin sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. I have one more hadith, inshallah. Okay. Remember, engaging with the book of Allah. Right? We're looking because the Qur'an, it shows us what's harmful for us in this life. What's harmful, moving oneself away from the remembrance of Allah. What's the remedy? Calling on Allah. That's the remedy. Calling on Allah. An hadith narrated by the companion Ibn Abbas, radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, may Allah ta'ala be pleased with both of them, and his father. He says that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whenever he was feeling distress, and we didn't think the Prophet he felt, because he's a human being. He's not an angel, he's a human being. And that's why his sunnah is so important for, because when we read the sunnah, when we read his life, we understand how to navigate through life. Relating with another human being. He just happens to be the best of human beings. The best of creations of Allah. Sallallahu ta'ala wa sallam alayhi. Okay. So whenever he felt distress, some anxiety. Listen to what his dua he would make. La ilaha illallah, al-azim al-halim. There is no God other than Allah, who is azim, mighty, and halim, compassionate, clement, gentle. Almost like Latif, but this is what halim. La ilaha illa rabb. Rabbu samawati wal ard. There is no God other than Allah, the Rabb of the samawat, of the heavens and of the earth. And he is the Rabbul Arsh al-Azim. He is the Rabb of this mighty throne. He is the Lord of this mighty throne. The scholars coined this poem. It says, نحن ندعو الإله في كل كرب ثم ننساه عند كشف الكروب كيف نرجو إجابة لدعائي وقد سددنا طريقها بالذنوب. Subhanallah. We cry to Allah. We cry to Allah whenever we find some difficulty. We cry to Allah. We make dua to Allah. Right? At every difficulty. Like we should. And then the Sheikh says, ثُمَّ نَنْسَاهُ. Then we forget about Allah when He removes that difficulty. Allah says this in the Quran. There's an ayah in the Quran that gives the similar meaning to this. Then we, it says, then we forget about Allah after He has removed that difficulty away from us. And so then the poet then says, so how can we expect an answer, a reply to our dua, when what we have done is what we have done, we have blocked the path to get the answer from Allah with sins. The poison. We've taken in the poison. We've taken in the poison. Brothers and sisters, I encourage you, as I encourage myself, to engage with the book of Allah. Engage with the book of Allah. This is what's going to save us. This is what's going to save us. Having some relationship with Allah's words. Having some relationship with Allah. Today is Friday, brothers and sisters. Increase your salawats on Allah's Prophet. Allah Ta'ala reminds me when He says, Inna Allah wa malaikatu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim fil alamin innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim fil alamin innaka Hamidum Majid. For instance, if you know anybody who's ill or sick, make some effort to visit them. Make dua. We ask Allah, oh Allah, cure those people who are ill and sick. Cure them and make them, give them a complete healing. Right? We ask Allah, so if you know people are sick, make some effort to visit them and let them know you're thinking about them. And brothers and sisters, we have to mention it because this is our responsibility to take care of one another and take care of our masajid. Don't leave out of the masjid here without giving something so that the masjid can continue to help masses of people. We have no idea how many people come asking for assistance and all the things that the masjid is doing to make sure that the Muslims are taken care of. Iqam as-salah.